What is the latest on Brandon Aiyuk in your estimation, Mike?
In my estimation, and this is all educated, I would say more educated than guessing, but I would call it an educated guess because you got to piece this thing together.
Sure.
The 49ers, because we said they're never going to trade Brandon Aiyuk because they're trying to win the Super Bowl. Well, at some point, this thing turned to the point where they were open to it because they had shut it down going back to the spring and just recently had really engaged with teams and given Aiyuk and his agent permission to speak to teams because they got to get the contract part of it done. So I don't know exactly when, but within the last week or so, opened the gates to that. But just like we said, they're trying to win the Super Bowl. They're trying to figure out, okay, well, how do we make sure we get a wide receiver back, which is why the reports came out, the framework of a deal with the Patriots and the Browns. They have receivers that coming back would make sense to the 49ers. The Steelers don't have that. They're not going to trade George Pickens, obviously. And that's why they need Aiyuk and why they have interest in Aiyuk. So part of this, and they just signed Robbie Chosen Anderson. I think he's got all three names now, if I'm not mistaken. So is that enough in their mind to say, okay, well, now let's work out the best deal we possibly can with the Steelers? Or is that just part of the process and they're still going to go? Like, this is all, okay, we got to figure out this trade, but we also have to figure out we're creating a hole. So how do we best plug that hole as well? So there's a lot of things going on at once. And that's why I believe it's kind of been stuck in the mud a little bit the last couple of days.
Well, the Chosen Anderson signing to me sounds like they need to get somebody in camp, you know, and I'm sure Anderson's going to take an opportunity to get off the couch and play in a preseason game and maybe put some tape out there for himself. I can't imagine they're going to take somebody off the, you know, at the crib and say that's Aiyuk's replacement. Clearly, they did also get, Pearsall in the draft. And so I totally understand that they'd want a wide receiver back. But what happened? Have you determined what you're reporting on why the Niners suddenly said, okay, we'll take a look at trading him at the top of training camp when you're so close to a season? Like, what happened? Do you know?
I would say the hold in worked, and because he was there and he was participating in meetings and he was around the facility, and from my understanding, he wasn't an issue inside the building. He just wasn't practicing. Now there have been some meetings and some conversations. Go back to that meeting that they had. It was in July. It was before training camp, and Aiyuk was the one that initiated it, and it was with the intention of trying to get things reset and from my understanding in that meeting, a lot of folks on both sides said some things they need to get off their chest. And they came away and it was like, okay, now we can potentially reset and negotiate a deal leading up to training camp so we don't have a holdout or a hold in or an issue or anything like that. Just get this deal done. And then it never really happened. They never got a formal offer from the 49ers. We have said repeatedly that the formal negotiations and the formal offers, and this is something where over the course of reporting on the NFL, I've kind of learned what constitutes an offer. Like, you can say in a conversation, okay, we'd be willing to do this, or an agent or a player doesn't really consider an offer to be an offer until it's sent in an email. And okay, we've got a chance, and we've got a paper trail, basically. So they haven't done that for months. They haven't done that since back in the spring. So, the hold-in happens, and it was strategic. And you can see Kyle Shanahan day by day being asked about it, getting more and more impatient. Because he wants to go out and coach the best football team he possibly can. So I could tell that this is something that has been grinding on him and grinding on the team. And they got to the point where it's like, all right, it's not going to happen here. It doesn't seem that way. So let's see if we can just get him out of here and make him happy and we move on.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.